And the Australian Light Horse Association are hosting also a full day of games and demonstrations on Sunday the 30th of November at the Warrnambool Showgrounds, and that's free entry. So we're now starting to expand a little bit, and there's activities on day one. But let's now just find out a little more about the Australian Light Horse Association, a great part of the Australian Defence Services. Let's go to that story right now.
The main aim of the Australian Light Horse Association is to perpetuate the memory of those who have gone before us and have left that legacy to us. The British have their cavalry, the Russians have their Cossacks, the Canadians have their Mounties, and we have the Australian Light Horse. They're iconic and are well known around the world. It's extremely important to keep those traditions alive, because if we lose our history, then we've lost our identity. The Australian Light Horse was born out of the Boer War. They had their origins in the Boer War. The horse was used primarily as a mode of transport to move them quickly around the battlefield, get them to the fight, where they would dismount and engage the enemy on foot. After the skirmish, they would then call the horses back, remount and ride off to safety or off to another fight. Well, today they're going to see all the equestrian disciplines that the Australian Light Horse over the years learnt, practiced and put into warfare. We're looking at an 8-event program. We have the hurdles, dummy thrust, the dismount for action, some tent pegging, and a rescue race, the dispatch race, and we'll finish up with the skill at arms, which is the premier event here today. The Association Cup was born out of necessity, we thought, in the early days of when the association was formed. In 1906, the Prince of Wales donated an enormous silver cup to the Australian Light Horse. It's a metre in diameter. It currently sits at the Army Barracks at Puckapunyal, the head of the Armoured Corps. And the idea was for light horse units in those early days, and everyone was horse mounted, to compete in a series of events to try and win the cup. When the association was formed, one of our members at the time, Mr. Jerry Murphy, thought this is the way we would engender some competition. So he came up with an 8-event program, very similar to what was the program for the original Prince of Wales Cup. Look, it's very serious and people take this very serious. The competitors are all out to win today. No one ever remembers who comes second, so they all want to win. The event is based so that everyone has an equal chance. If you're strong in one discipline and weak in another, at the end of the day, over the 8 disciplines, we'll get the best average competitors, and that's what we're looking for. We've had a lot of the old servicemen, and they're getting thin on the ground now, but 20 to 30 years ago, we would have people turn up and they'd think that there was a bit of a déjà vu event happening, and very emotional for a lot of those old original World War I and World War II diggers to see people out on the paddock in uniform, on horseback, doing what they practice as young men themselves. It's our charter to run these events. Hopefully we'll get people to come along. We have an event coming up at Warrnambool, the Jericho Cup, and it will perpetuate those memories and those ideals, and the people will be able to see what those original light horsemen trained and did in warfare.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant there, what the light horsemen are capable of doing, and that event is Saturday the 30th of November. There'll be a full day of games, and that'll be at the Warrnambool Showgrounds. Free entry to the Warrnambool Showgrounds on Saturday the 30th, and then obviously the Jericho Cup the next day at the Warrnambool Racecourse, and that will also feature the light horsemen leading out the fields and performing demonstrations during the day. But fascinating in itself, just what they did and how they still showcase themselves.
It's just incredible. I think we just keep learning more and more through the Jericho Cup series as well. Bill Kibbins, I know we've said this a bit, but he's put a lot of time, effort and money into this race, and he is a bit of a historian. He's gone through the history, all of the trophies for each of the races there on the day are each named after, you know, a horse or a person who was involved as well. But in terms of the day as well, I think it's free entry if you are a return serviceman too, so that's fantastic in terms of getting those people along to the track there on the day.
How do you reckon you go on the tent petting, Talia?
Oh, I think I might stick to race riding after watching those guys. It's amazing.
Yeah, the pace they go to pick up those, you know, those pegs is extraordinary.
I think I'd fall off the side, I reckon.